Welcome. Hi, my name is Leap. I use he, him, and this is a Smallfolk game. Thank you so much for coming. This is the inaugural stream of the Insight Check Pod Twitch stream channel. For those of you who don't know what Insight Check Pod is, I don't know how you got here, but I'll tell you anyways. Insight Check Pod is a weekly podcast about Dungeons and Dragons where we answer questions and we talk with friends and we bring on guests and we just have a lot of sillies. And today we are honored to present to you a small folk game. Now, before I get to introducing all of our good friends who you see, I don't know where I am in the boxes. Here, down, around, that way, cool. There's a few things that I want to say, and then we're going to get started. So, Smallfolk is a homebrewed Dungeons and Dragons campaign that is based on the 5e rules. It is set in a place called the Valley, which is a lowland surrounded by rock in a mysterious wood known as the Whisperwood. And unlike most Dungeons and Dragon games, in some places you would play with orcs and elves and dwarves, but here we are playing with mice and bats and snails and frogs and lizards and also martens and otters as well. I don't think I missed any. I hope I didn't miss any. I'm a little nervous. And all of this has come from our good friend Jay, who's on the podcast, and myself. We, after a bunch of conversations, started talking about this and homebrewed this up. We are very thankful that Jay put together all of the basic mechanics of everything. And if you're interested in seeing the source document, there should be a command down in the Sweet Twitch channel where you can actually see everything that we have created so far, if in case you want to try and run one at home for yourself. So, the command is !smallfolk. And then you can see all that good stuff. Now, this is an event stream. What that means is that we are going to be on about once a month. We're running 2 games, and so there's going to be this game. All these very incredible people who are in different capacities around me are going to be playing their game this month, and then next week we are going to be starting a whole new game with a whole new adventure. And the reason that we decided to do an event stream is this: we're all just a bunch of friends and we're all just really busy people. So we thought it would be nice to be able to find once a month where we could play. And something that we noticed was that it's just really difficult to catch up in a new stream when you know that there's like tons and tons and tons and stuff. So man, that sort of made sense. So anywho, basically we are trying to make it as easy and as simple for you, the listener or viewer, to watch us whenever you can. After this, you'll be able to find us on Twitch VOD, the YubTubs, and also in podcast form. And yeah, I am going to stop talking for a minute and let myself calm down. And I am going to let our players introduce ourselves. We here at Insight Check Pod and at Smallfolk we believe in an inclusive table. So you are going to have all of our players introduce themselves, their pronouns, their characters, and their characters' pronouns as well, just to make things easy. So I'm going to let everyone start, and I think we are going to start, if you don't mind, with Embers.
Hi, I'm Ember Side. I use he, him. I'm playing Howie Leaf Ears, the roguish bat folk who has strayed from his tribe and his crew and fallen in with a brother from another mother, Abendstern Leaf Ears. Take it away.
Hi, I'm Ian, or the Abendstern. I am a croaky, he, him, please. I am a croaky cleric that tries to keep his brother from another mother, Howie, out of trouble.
It's not gonna work.
Probably not.
No, no. And what are the pronouns for both of your characters, if you don't mind me asking?
Howie is a he, him.
Awesome.
Abernstern is a he, him. It also works.
Incredible. Irish, do you want to go?
Sure. I'm Irish, also Michaela, also McBoots42, and my pronouns are she, her. And today I'll be playing Jink the Pine Marten, who goes by he, him.
And then why don't we get our very sparkly friend Shiny to go now?
Yep, I'm Shiny Batgirl. I go by she, her. And I'm going to be playing Super Long Sparkly Trail. She's a shell-kept druid, snail in non-small folk terms, who's been making her way over to the valley with her family over generations. So she's been collecting lots of treasures and is looking forward to new adventures.
And last but certainly not least, we have our good friend Cal.
Hello, I'm Cal, also Andrew, he, him. I'll be playing Wensleydale Beestinger. Beestinger is a coincidence, no relation. His pronouns are he, him, they, them, and hey, you get out of there. And he's a Beastmaster Ranger, so his companion is Sid, a wasp whose pronouns are B, Bim.
Incredible. And actually, I wanted to end with Cal because you will notice if you take a look at the source document that two of the races that you see here tonight are not included. They were not a part of the original source material. And we have some homebrew stuff. The Jink, the Martin, who we refer to as the swizzle tail, that is still underway in an official capacity, but Cal homebrewed the Rivertail Otterfolk, which you can find on D&D Beyond, I believe.
Yeah, and I just dropped the link for it into chat, in fact.
Absolutely incredible. Oh, man. Checking off things. All right. So a couple more things that I want to talk about before we get into the game. Oh, the link got revoked. So maybe you can put it up on Twitter. I don't know. Our Twitch stuff is like just super duper high right now. This is our very first go at this. Excuse me. And you can tell because I burped on stream. So in a few minutes, sometime soon, you are going to see me accepting a very small baby. His name is Douglas. He is my co-DM. And like I said, we're very busy people. And part of our inclusive table involves me hanging out with my son while my wife tries to get a bit of sleep in the evening. So you might see me in 5 to 10 minutes standing up and trying to DM while bouncing a sleeping child. There might also be a chance for us to take a break when he needs to go to the bathroom or has already gone. He needs he gets a bit upset and I need to bounce him around the house, or he just gets hungry. So in that case, our producer Jareka has set up some really nice segue material for your viewing pleasure with the help of our good friend Eric Alloway and music by Ember's Tide, actually, if I am correct in that, which is super dope. And then we'll be back in absolutely no time. If he doesn't need any of that stuff, we'll still take a break about halfway so we can all go to the bathroom, get a drink. I can stop talking and actually breathe for a minute, and and then we'll just go.
What's that?
Breathing? I don't know. I think it's done. I don't know. If you have questions for our good players, what we're planning on doing is we are planning on having a Twitter feed where we'll be able to access all those questions. Our producer Jareka is going to be posting those up later next week. And then all of our characters and everyone involved with the stream will be able to answer at their leisure. So if you have anything you want to talk about for the game, questions that you have, I know that we are going to want to talk to you, and just be sure that you hashtag Smallfolk or Smallfolk D&D. And yeah, for all of our buddies, we'd really appreciate that. And last but certainly not least, before we get started, there's just a few people I'd like to thank. I would like to thank our good friend Jay for being the foundation of this source material. Without him, we wouldn't be playing. I would like to thank our producer Jerika for doing all of the back work on this. She basically just decided that this stream would happen. And so without her, we would not be here. We'd be playing, but we wouldn't be here. So
Yes.
yeah, she is our very personal version of Alyssa from the C team, which is the highest compliment I think I can give. I would like to thank Ember's Tide for the music that he has created for this. It is absolutely incredible. I've been whistling it all week long. And last and certainly not least, I'd like to thank the players, obviously. These are some of the busiest people I know, some of which are in their own streams, some of which have, lives are just busy. And the fact that we could get everyone here means the world to me. And finally, I would like to thank you, the viewer or listener, for taking some your time out of your busy schedule and coming to hang out with us. It really means the world to me. So now that that is all done, I can switch my note and we can get started.
And away we go.
So,
Does that mean I have to pay attention now?
yeah,
Aw.
you
Is
now,
this on
yes,
the test?
We don't
You've
have
taken-
to.
you've already taken 6
Right.
damage. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
that's
right.
not.
You don't
Psychic
know
damage
why
for not
you're
paying
rolling
attention.
saves.
So our party has already been together on an adventure that happened off stream. And in a minute, we'll decide whether or not our party has stayed together after that time or has went off to their own corners of the valley, back to their clay houses or trees, back to their burrows or down by the riverside. But in this past time, the season has since changed and winter has come over the valley and the greater Whisperwood. What happens in the wintertime here is that the single exit of the pond that leads out, the one river, freezes and the whole of the lower lands of the valley flood and turn into ice. So above ground travel becomes very difficult. Most people spend their time nestled with kin where they find it most comfortable. And life really goes underground. During this time, wherever you are, you receive, there is and you look and you see a very small white grub. And it just blinks kind of into existence nearby you. There's a letter on its back wrapped in a small leather string. And you open it up, and it's a summons for a job. There is a mouse folk who calls himself Tuft the Merchant, who has asked our party to help them secure a contract in a faraway place in the valley called Lavender Loan. They're light on the details, but essentially to get there, since it is the winter, you have to go into some tunnels that have been long underused and many mouse folk think are abandoned and potentially haunted. There was hints of hesitation in Tuft's writing, which makes him think that there might need be some assistance in securing the contract. And if you were to accept, then there would be payment for that as well. He's left you an address for you to meet him and has asked you to feed the grub and then send him back on his way. Change of the camera, right? Boom, exactly.
Star
Fade.
wipe.
Star wipe.
Star wipe.
I knew.
So Howie is during the wintertime as a batfolk, he is occasionally doing or participating in the patrols that fly above the area. Part of the duty of living in the valley, even though he tends to try and stay warmed artificially through alcohol, he still flies and does his daytime reconnaissance to make sure that there's no existential disturbance. So for him, this white grub popping out of nowhere sets him aback, and he rushes down someplace warm to get it out of the cold. Bids adieu to the other Batfolk who are doing recon and monitoring missions, and comes back into the warmth and immediately looks for libations to get his blood warmed again.
I'm sure they're available. So there are definitely libations nearby. Something warm, something hearty, right? That dark brown of a stout or an ale that you are able to find. So let's assume that we've all accepted, and the day that you were prescribed to be meeting him in the town below, which is the underground center of Mousefolk culture. It is a giant cavern that has been dug out over generations, and what was just burrows and tunnels has since been changed into cobblestone roads and hills and churches. There are still some tunnels, and there are still some of the old ways about here, but it is a civilization in its own right. And the city in the wintertime, especially, is bustling. You head down an alley in the north end, ducking under an archway, which a shop is actually right above it. And you go up a hill, and at the top of the hill, there is a cave entrance. And in front of the cave entrance stands a mouse with a push cart with some small supplies on it. This mouse is wearing a light blue coat, heavy cotton, green trousers, and has gray fur. There's a tuft of blonde and brown hair that shoots right up from between its ears, and you can tell that they've done their best to try and make it look like it's an intentional haircut. This mouse sees you, finishes writing something on another pad, rolls it up, gives this grub a piece of cheese, and you see it just from existence, and then waves you down. And before we decide if you are going to walk up to them or not, I would like to give the players an opportunity to say what their character wants to do, or if your character has any questions about the job that they might already know before talking to this individual. Or we can just go and say hello.
Jink and Hai are ready to go.
So
Yeah.
yeah, Wensleydale's definitely happy to do the job. I just, for a little bit of context in this situation we're in, since river tails tend to be a fair bit bigger than the average mouse folk, I'm sure Wensleydale's been to this city before because it's a hub. There are lots of people to know, lots of people to visit, lots of work to find, and I'm sure that there being so many different kinds of animals in this world that the mouse folk have built it to accommodate people much larger than themselves. However, Wensleydale he can't get it out of his head that like this is a mouse city and I'm an otter and I'm so much bigger than them. So you'd watch him like walk under an awning or something that's twice as high off the ground as he is tall, and he still ducks. And he's got his quarterstaff out, and he's just like looking up at the ceiling every once in a while, making sure he can like poke something out of the way if it's coming. So by the time he gets to this place where we're meeting someone for the job, he's kind of on edge. He's kind of muttering to himself, and he's just like, "Stupid mouse city. I like mice, but I don't want to be here." And that's just sort of the mood he's in as our scene opens.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Okay.
I'm
Well,
ready
if that's
to
all,
go.
awesome. All right.
Have we Have we all met up, or are we just making our way to the meetup?
Let's say that you either met up earlier in the alley or within your pairings made arrangements to meet a day before. So some of you might have met as you were turning a corner and you found each other kind of going the same way, recognizing each other immediately. Some of you might have spent, after a long travel, a night in one of the many inns here, shared some lodgings and had some good food, and just woke up for the visit. So I'm going to say that everyone's here.
Then,
And
oh no, go ahead.
no, please.
Jink is pretty enthused to have another like larger sized creature, and their otter friend, the long swizzly boy.
So Tuft.
And so he's just hanging out with him. Sorry, I just keep accidentally
No.
interrupting you.
It's all good. Like I said, we haven't done this. The last time we played was a long time ago. So everyone's seen us figure it all out again, and it's all good. So Tuft waves you guys in, and as you walk up, he is astounded by the Rivertail and the Swizzlekin. He looks at everyone, and he looks at you both, and his jaw just drops. And oh, wow, gee.
So if he's stunned right now, Howie is going to try and take that opportunity to peruse his cart in great detail.
Okay. For sure.
Meanwhile, Wensleydale, assuming he's just like impressed at seeing a powerful hero, is just going like full Captain Morgan and just like, yes, drink it in.
I know, it's a lot.
Right. I get this a lot.
So Howie, why don't you you can either make a sleight of hand roll, or you can make a perception roll, whatever you would prefer.
I will seek perception.
Yep.
21.
Oh yeah. So it is a mouse-sized pushcart, so it's not very big, and it's clearly something that a single mouse can move around. It is mainly empty, except there is a small bundle of just adventuring supplies, things that seem pretty standard, especially for you, as someone who patrols and adventures. He also, beside him, like on his coat, he has a very full pack, like like a side bag that is near overflowing, like it's almost bursting at the seams. So you, being who you are, you probably assume that anything that is of real value to him is in there, and anything that he couldn't carry himself is in the cart. I'm going to say with that 21, you also probably think that he's hoping to bring things back with him. Otherwise,
traveling with some empty suitcases, going to hit up the outlet malls.
Exactly. Yeah, just bring back all those good Florida trinkets. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so he says, wow, it's just so good to meet you all. And he keeps trying to look at everyone, but his eyes just keep pointing to Jink and to Wensley. And it's just wow. I've heard, and I know that it's I've never met a swizzletail or an otter, I'm sorry, a swizzlekin and a rivertail. I'm sorry. Let me. Okay. Hi, I'm Tuft. And he tries to. I'm Tuft the merchant, and thank you on behalf of my employer of taking this job. It means the world to us, and I, while a keen merchant, am not an adventurer, and I promise that I hope that it will be easy, and I promise no matter what, you shall be paid in full. And he kind of motions to.
I prefer to be paid in money.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Okay. This is that Rivertail humor I've heard of. Okay.
No, I don't know what you. I want money. I
Yeah. Yeah. And so, nervously, he opens his pack up, and there's a small bag that he opens up, and without just opening it, you can just see standard Smallfolk currency. You can see gold caps. You can see the silver leaves, and you can even see some of the bronze chips that it just makes up, day to day living in this small furry capitalist economy that we're creating here. And he motions. He's like, everything that I cannot, everything that we agreed on. I don't know if we talked details in the letter. I can't remember. There's been a lot. We've been writing a lot of letters. I apologize, um, but here, why not we do this? So for passage to get from here to Lavender Loan, it's 3 days of travel, and these tunnels are, well, they're not used often. 200 gold caps, we think, is a reasonable offer. And my employer has allowed me to offer you up to 550 caps should it be required for.
It is.
Okay, I was going to say, should it be required to continue to be sure that the contract that we are trying to negotiate with the mice of Lavender Loan is secured, and which will be paid once the contract papers are signed. That should be said. I've messed that one up in the past.
No, Iris says, no, no, no. This, and I sort of take a step back and put a claw on Tuft's shoulder. I say, no, no, you misunderstand. This is the greatest lesson in negotiation I have ever seen. We are lucky to get a chance to work for whatever gold caps you can manage, and to settle it just a shy hair over 500 really speaks your skill. And I'll make sure that we talk about with your employer how you left us bruised at the negotiating table with your prowess.
He is relieved, and he is you see him like swell up a little bit, and okay, this is
Were you
Douglas.
stung by a bee?
No. Oh no. No, thank you. That's just very, very kind. Well, I'm it's early in the morning. I know, but it is a full 3 days of travel, 2 nights. And so if you wouldn't mind us starting to go, I would prefer not to be in the front, but if I don't know how these adventuring parties work. I'm really an office mouse, but my employer has decreed that we need a representative at the loan for this, and she decided that it was going to be me. So be it. I see. Um, how how should we start? And he looks up at this hill, and for image sake, the walls of the outside of the cavern are just dirt and stone, and there are roots that slowly make their way down. Many of the tunnels that you got here by, except for you, Howie, you might have come down, you might have flown down from a top entrance that's allowed by so for bat folk to get in, but everyone else would have had to come through some pretty standard routes, which are all cobblestone and well engineered, and then look like the underside of a bridge, almost like an old stone bridge. But this one is bare dirt, and looks looks old in nature and black. Just no, there doesn't seem to be any torchlight permeating it at all.
So as soon as Tuft asks the group, how should we get started, Onsdale says, all right, let's go, and just like takes off in a random direction. Gets maybe like 20 feet away, walking very confidently,
Incredible.
and then just kind of stops, tail droops, head droops. His wasp companion kind of bops him on the head with
Yep.
with a wing, and then they turn around and he walks back and goes, I need to know where we're going.
Oh, it's in the tunnel. I should have said that. And he just like points to
Okay.
the tunnel. We
As
go
soon
in
as,
there.
as soon as a direction is indicated, Wensleydale just takes off in that direction.
Come on,
Wensleydale.
Abenstern stops Tuft, or stops Wensley. Sorry, and
What?
says, "Shouldn't we ask first if there's a map?"
Okay.
Yeah, I think a map would be great.
Tuft, do you have a map?
All right.
Oh, yes, of course. Definitely. And he reaches into his bag and moves over a couple things. And he then pulls out this long piece of parchment and kind of bends down onto the cold floor and rolls it out. And basically it's very simple, really. This is a lot of tunnels have their forks and their alternative routes. This one just heads to the loan. There are a dead end or two, and you see that on the map. There, it is a straight passage. It is just generally straight north, and then he for a while, and then he points, and I think that this is about where we'll have to stop for a day. And you see that there is a bit of a cavern that opens up. And then after the cavern, it looks like this is an old map. You can tell it's just the parchment is old, and you can see that it kind of spirals down a little bit, and then after that the route is less direct, but it does head generally northeast, and with a few caverns and a few spots that have some kind of markings on them, things that you can see that they're notes that he might have maybe even written himself, like places for potential rest, right, stuff like that. But there doesn't really seem to be much of another way to go, and then it just kind of stops with an X that says Lavender Loan right there.
Long sparkly trail. For the most part, she probably just follows behind slowly. She moves especially slowly in the cold, so she probably falls farther and farther behind. And then when no one's looking, she'll use her like blink misty step things that she has as a shell folk to catch back up again. But she only uses it. She thinks she can only use it when nobody's watching her, so she'd only do it when she falls farther enough behind.
Okay, if Jink notices that you're falling behind, he'd probably scoop you up and chew on his shoulder.
Oh, that works.
They are very heavy.
She's pretty big, yeah.
Yeah, it's a surprising thing. The shell kept are like, they're dense. They're really
She's covered in doodads, and she does leave a long sparkly goo trail. So I don't know if it's something that if you guys want on you.
Her shell is kind of a katamari of bedazzled decorations.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, it's okay. It's okay because Abenstern is the kind of croaky that usually at this time of year completely freezes. His whole body freezes and he hibernates. So he moves a little slowly too. So he'll bring up the rear with you.
Nice.
So how Howie is going to stay close to Tufts and continue to talk him up and try to gain some sort of insight about who his employer is and what's behind this new business opportunity. Not in any pointed way, but just buttering up that mouse.
Yeah. Okay, so what we're gonna do?
Mouse.
Buttered mouse. It is weird delicacy, but here we are.
Not gonna yuck anybody's yum.
Yeah, exactly. Right. That's not our space. What I'm gonna ask is I'm gonna ask for either a persuasion or an insight roll because you're trying to butter him up, right? So you're trying to convince him to speak a little bit. And if you want, you can roll both and take the higher number because I feel like he would be doing both.
Well, insight's my jam, so I'm probably gonna get better with that.
So is that going to be? Are you going to be doing that like while we start to make our way in the direction, or is this sort of before we even get on the road?
It's as we go. My hope is that as we're talking, Tufts is not an adventurer. He's likely to be distracted and maybe more pliable because he's not thinking about.
So just like as we go along, you're just trying to like get him in your back pocket.
Yeah, and just see if he drops any breadcrumbs when he's not paying much attention. I rolled a 24.
Woo! All right. So now I don't have my I don't have my source material in front of me, which is silly of me as a DM. But I know that Howie will have dark vision. I know that he has blind sight, so he can see absolutely no problem.
Yep.
I'm gonna think that the Martins are going to have a limited blind sight or like dark vision. So I'm going to say, we never talked about this, but I'm going to say about 30 feet in front of you.
Okay.
I don't think that the otters, the shell-kept, or Abendstern would have it.
Otters do have dark vision.
You do? Okay, cool.
Yes.
I have
blind sight, dark vision.
So yeah, Leaf, I can see black and white 60 feet ahead of me in the dark. And based on that, I'm trying to be somewhere towards the front, just also so I can have my ears out and just be kind of echolocating, kind of doing the little the whole time in between, little niceties to Tufts and saying, encouraging him to be brave and walk up towards the frontish with me.
For sure. I want to role play this with you for a minute, but as he is he can see fine. This is his area, but what he will do is out of almost as if he was told to, he reaches into his pouch and he pulls out for anyone who has dark vision or some sense of it, he pulls out this small bug and he runs a finger along it from the top of its like bug head to through the back of its carapace, and then you can and definitely you, Howie, you could see this because you're right beside him. You hear this thing kind of hum and shake like a purr, and then in a minute its whole body like its whole thorax begins to glow an orange, and
nice.
it lifts it opens its wings and it lifts up and it flies 30 feet ahead of you and lights the tunnel up. And then nervously, he kind of sheepishly looks at you and takes out a second one and does the same. And he actually whispers something to this one. And this one begins to glow and light up and fly to the back so that both ends of this party are now have these lights that are following it from
this party is lit.
It is lit. Exactly.
As soon as these bugs come out, Wensleydale puts a hand on Sid to make sure that he doesn't go and try and eat them.
Excellent. Good. Very good.
Abendstern shares the desire to enjoy one of these delicious-looking grubs.
It's like, no, then you'd have to walk with your mouth open the entire time to light the way.
Fine.
So what do you say exactly to him to try and get him to open up? Just a bit, not the whole thing.
I'd say, you have some secrets, don't you? For a merchant who's not an adventurer, you're well prepared. That, negotiation skills, cartography. I think you have a great many surprises and much to teach us. We're lucky to be on this journey together.
Well, that's kind. I come from Sephansia is an excellent employer, and she is quite good at making sure that everyone is prepared. Um, and so when she decided that I would be the mouse that she would send off to finish her negotiations, she's had me writing to these mice for months about their honey, and so I guess it had to be me to finish the contract, as she would say. But you know how it is when there's a once in a lifetime opportunity. It would secure our funding and riches for her, for lifetimes to come. And so I'm honored, I should say.
Oh, I don't know about that. I mostly just fly around. But if you could forgive such a simple question, but for a lifetime opportunity, doesn't it seem odd that all we have to do is walk 3 days' journey? For such a rich leader as Safanzia and one of such means,
Well,
don't you suppose that perhaps there might be a complication, or why hasn't she sealed this contract or partnership already?
well, you've heard of Lavender Lone Wild Hive honey, haven't you?
I don't
You
know, have I?
you you would have.
I
I
get
wouldn't
around.
know.
I mean,
And the bat that you are, and
taste for the
the
finer things.
exactly. And so this is what you would know about Lavender Lone Wild Hive honey. As I try and quell the Douglas I accidentally just activated, um, is that
No honey
is
for that
this,
one.
no honey for him. You know that this is the mousefolk equivalent of a 50-year-old bottle of wine, from the nicest vineyard that you can get. Um, this is Lavender Lone Wild Hive honey is a prestige purchase
Hmm.
for the richest mice and croakies in the region. And what and he just starts, that's all that you know of it, and that it's exceptionally rare.
Okay.
That it's one of those things they that people don't even bring out. It's owning it that shows that you're rich beyond your means, that you don't even have to worry about anything. But then he just like, and while you're thinking about this, he's just been talking about all of the different paperwork that he's had to do, and all of the letters that he had to write to even just get an agreement that the mice might talk to them, that they are very, very secluded in this far off part of the, oh, it's okay, buddy, of the valley. And then he says, but what's crazy is that they don't even charge for it. They charge as if it's just a normal honey. And so there's these markets that come up as soon as one of their carts with those small purple robes show up. They just swarm on them. And then the secondary market, oh, well, that's where you make the money, is the resale. And so Safanzia knew that if she could get our foot in the door and convince these stubborn mice, oh my God, they are, they're just so, how many one word letters that they sent back that I had to reply to over these months.
Were you the first to write to them, or were there others in Safanzia's organization?
I was the one she assigned I was the one she assigned. And so I diligently worked and I lost count of the letters I wrote to them. And they finally said they may open the door for me. So that is why I think that this might be a concern, that they might not see us. There's also, and he pauses for a minute. Says,
Yeah.
They seem to have mentioned some problems with supply, and the legends say that their stores are endless. The hive itself is gigantic, if our maps are correct. But so I don't know what they would mean by a problem with supply, which is why we hired you. That, and well, and as soon as he says that, you can tell, like, there is it's been hours of speaking and talking.
Right. And perhaps he realizes he's maybe wandered off the reservation a bit.
A little bit, yeah. And he's like, well,
as soon as I notice that, I'll put my hand on Tuff's shoulder and say, my good friend, when we arrive at their door, I am sure they will see the caliber of mouse they are dealing with. And you
And
have
if they don't, I'll
nothing to
punch 'em.
fear. And it is our honor to finally untap and let the honey flow for you.
So, if there's anything else that people want to do during this first day of journey, now is a great time to let me know. It's a boring. Let's actually have just some quick perception rolls along this tunnel, and then I'll do a quick description, and we'll go from there. And we'll do it. We'll go Embers. We'll go Howie, Abendstern, Jake.
I dropped my die.
You dropped your die. Shiny, and then
I have a rolling tray, and I still dropped my die.
I rolled a 7.
7. Ooh, Shiny get a 13. She put it in the chat for us.
I rolled an 18 plus 3, 21.
Wow, good one.
I got 17.
Perfect.
Don't worry about me.
Don't worry about me. And with Shiny's 13, so basically anyone who got over a 10, it is, you notice that this is anyone under, it's like this is just a tunnel. And Wensley, you've been maybe having to duck your head more than you would like. And since you're still in that tall man syndrome, right? Just like making sure that you're not gonna have another chance of whacking your noggin, you are more concentrated on that than the travel itself. But this is, there is no stonework in this tunnel. There are only some very sparse wood struts that have been put up to prevent cave-ins, and like a mine. And after half day's journey, those two disappear. It gets tighter and it gets colder. And then what you notice is that it's just becoming an older and older version of this tunnel. After another few hours of journey, you come to that cavern that was pointed in the map. It is just an opening of space that the tunnel continues through, and you can see that it dips down, and you see a very tired mouse. Kind of, he's been pulling this push cart the whole time. Just finally been done talking for hours. The bugs kind of bzzz, around, lighting it up, casting shadows about. And he says, well, this is it for our day. Why don't we start talking camp? I'll begin the fire. And with that, we're going to take a break. So this is our halfway point for our break, I believe. And I'm going to go get a drink and bounce this guy around. Thank you guys all so much for coming so far. And I am really excited to see you in about 5 minutes. Give me a sign that I am in.
We meant to win it.
In it to win it. In. We're back.
In.
Hello.
We.
Thank you. We are all relieved. We are all refreshed. And and the first.
Yeah. Relieved and
it.
relieved to be back.
Oh, yes. Obviously. And Douglas is he's slightly activated, so I'm going to have to stand up in a minute.
Mhm.
But, so first camp, you start setting up. You actually see, you can tell that this mouse has been given very specific instructions. And from from the cart, he picks up like 2 pieces. Anyone who's adventured, especially in the wintertime, you'll know these. They're like cubes of dried leaves and like just old fabric, like basically fire starter when there isn't wood underground, right? Anyone who spent enough time underground, they're like, it's just like lint and things, and they're meant to work like logs. And so he puts a couple down, and he with a tinder, it takes him a little bit of time, but he lights the fire, and the bugs finally get a bit of relief. And then he starts setting up his own camp, getting a bite for himself, a drink of water, and then he said he actually, once everything settles a little bit and people kind of have done whatever they need to do to set up camp, he pulls out a box and opens up the box, and there is some cards that, well, tell me, who has spent any time living with mice or staying long hours in like a mouse inn, not just for a night, but who's like spent some time staying within the company of mouse folk?
Wouldn't be Howie.
Yeah, wouldn't be me either.
I guess it's just Jink.
Jink, you recognize this deck. This is their cards are common in Smallfolk, but this is a mouse folk particular deck. It's a small box that is deep, and the cards are mouse sized. So for you, when you play, you feel like you're playing with miniatures. They're so tiny, but it breaks down into, there are 2 large stacks. One is sometimes used if there's only a few players, but there's enough that like a whole, you can tell that this is meant to play for a lot of people. And then there's some smaller stacks as well. So this is a card set that is meant, like, mice families can go up to 20 to 100 depending on whoever's there, right? So they always want to have enough to play for everybody. And you would know this game. But he starts shuffling some cards, and he says, well, I'm not sure what you do on a night's travel, but does anyone want to play some Nature's Luck? And with that, he also takes out one of his pouches of money and kind of puts it beside him, and you hear that very distinct clink of caps and leaves and chips. And he's like, it's really, I mean, none of you are mice, and I don't want to assume, but it's a really easy game to learn, and yeah, it can be a bit of fun if you want. I've never slept in a cave before. I know it's, as a mouse, it's a weird thing to say, but I'm a city mouse, so this I don't know. I just, is a little bit of comfort, and he starts to shuffle.
I will
waiting to see
play a
if
game
anyone
with
will
you.
Okay.
If you're willing to teach, I will always be willing to learn.
I'm
Yeah, and
always happy to watch.
Wensleydale doesn't say anything, but he just comes over and sits down in the circle of people who are joining.
How tall is this chamber? How high up?
This chamber is roughly, it is about 4 stories high. So it is a big chamber. It's large enough on the map that it was worth mentioning. So it's like the tunnel that you've been in Mousefolk, we use paws instead of feet. And so it was the tunnel itself fit everyone relatively well, so it was about 10 to 15 paws high. But this thing is it's 4 times that height, and it's expansive. It's incredibly wide.
It's a
You
cavernous
see,
cavern.
it's a cavern. It's cavernous, exactly.
So Howie, based on that, is going to politely decline the game, fly up to the top and try and find a perch to hang down on for sleep, but also to sort of be like a giant perception disco ball at the top and
Mhm.
just get a sense of the surroundings in that great hall sort of cavernous opening every so often. But he's less interested in playing the game and more interested in being kind of a being like a sonar receiver.
A bat on the
Totally.
wall.
Yeah,
A bat on the wall. Make a perception roll for me then.
I
Since you're
shall.
going up there, you find a couple roots and like mycelia hanging out, and so you find one that
Yes,
will
mycelia.
work for you, right?
Is a 16.
Yeah, okay. So with a 16, from this vantage point, and now that the fire's been lit, you can see in a farther area that was kind of tucked behind the entranceway. The entrance, there's a part that kind of dips back a little bit. You see that there is some debris. It looks like wood, and you think that there's a small jar back there as well. There's something. No one's seen it because no one's facing it, and no one's really looked. Everyone just kind of came in and started setting up camp. But you see those. So
what I'm going to do is I'm just going to chirp out that I'm going to do a perimeter check and glide over there.
Yep.
Take a look.
Okay. So when you get down there, the wood itself is old and rotted. And you see the metal of a cartwheel just laying rusted along it. And in good condition, but definitely of a time before, you see a small, what you think was a honey jar. And it's just kind of laying there and just been covered in dust. There's dirt over the top of it. And it's just kind of resting along that spot.
I lick it.
The jar itself? Or do you
Yeah.
open it? It's because it's closed right now.
So okay, I'm gonna try and see if there is residue of honey.
Okay, yeah. So you pop the jar open. There's that, and it's just dust, right? You pop it open, and there's a sweet dust that kind of pops out, and there doesn't seem to be. There's a sheen in the jar, like it's shinier along the inside of it, but it seems to be empty.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I take a little bit of water, do a quick rinse,
Yep.
dump it out, and then I take a little bit more water, put it in there, and just sort of shake it up and try to reconstitute it. I'm going to hold on to this jar and see if I can, liquidate any crystalline honey that might be in it. Because I want to get a taste to see if this is that, transcendental experience of the lavender loam. The other thing I was going to try to do is look for any kind of insignia or markings on the jar or on the metal part of the cartwheel. And I guess look and inspect and see if there's any sign of damage or violence or conflict in these ruins.
So I'll give you roll another perception check, and
I will do so.
And then we'll get to the card game.
It's a 15.
15, yeah. The cart and wood itself is incredibly old. It's hard to tell. It's all just in bits, right? Like the longest part is about a few paws, like 2 paws wide. But there's enough of it, and especially with the wood, the rust of the wheel cart, you can tell what it was. But it's all just decomposed in this space for a very, very long time. In the jar itself, you flip it over on the bottom, and in the clay, you see an imprint of a lavender flower. And it's just a light pressing, as if when the clay itself was drying, someone took the leaf and pressed it there, and kept it there until it was dry, and then etched it off. But you can tell it was an intentional marking.
Shit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna take this jar. Tell you what.
Okay. Awesome. So yeah, you're holding onto the jar, and you can hear there's water in it still. You said you're just like keeping.
Yeah. So honey. The amazing thing about honey is even if it dehydrates, crystallizes, it never really goes bad. It just
No, exactly.
dehydrates.
Yep.
So I'm gonna see if I can just let it slog around in there and rehydrate. This is something I intend to hold on to as long as I can without really letting on that I have it. So hopefully I've got a little time that I can give it.
Perfect. Yeah, and since everyone else is concentrated on the card game, I'm gonna just say that you are able to pocket this thing away, and nobody knows the wiser.
Okay. Nice.
So then what happens is that Tufts he takes one of the thick decks, and kind of puts it out in the middle of the circle, and then takes one of the small decks and puts it out in the middle of the circle and says, well, nature's luck is old mouse folk. The wild is a dangerous place, so you look for food and you try and stay away from danger. So how the game works is that, well, you take from this deck, and he points to the larger one, and everyone we can play friendly, or we can place a bet. I don't know. It's more fun with a bet. I don't know. And then we decide if that's it, or we can pull from this deck. And what you would know, Jink, is that the deck that he's pointing to is the face cards, and so and it's much smaller. And he says, and then so what you do then is, once you have that card, there's another set of bets, and you can hold, you can stay, and the person with the highest total wins. That's it. It's fun, but it's easy. And if you want to play, I can deal. Or everyone can pick. Every family does it a little differently.
Well, I'm willing to put a bet in. Is anybody else interested in that?
Put how much in?
Well, how about this? And he just takes out a gold cap. He says, we're just learning, and it's fun when you bet more than just once. So he puts a gold cap into the center, and you can actually tell he like flips the box, and the top of the box has some fabric on the bottom, and he puts it into the fabric as if that's what it was meant for. And he's like, so just that, to put it there, first in, and then we do another round after we have our cards, and then if everyone holds, then that's all we do. But if someone wants to go for the prey cards, or the predator cards, then we can go from there.
Okay.
So here's how we play. Everyone is going to roll a 20-sided dice, and you are going to hold on to that number. You're not going to tell anyone what it is. Okay? And so I gotta get everything. So we have 3 people playing, right? Here we go.
Yeah.
Our first big rolls of the night. So everyone who's playing, there's 4 of us. Everyone roll a 20-sided dice. All right. And what we'll do is this: since the order was it was Tuft, and then Jink, and then Abendstern, and then it was Wensley. That'll be the order in which we go. Okay. So and Sparkly's watching, so she's just like a little bit far removed. So he takes a look at his card, and once you pick up the card, you see that they're very small, and they have the number on it that you rolled, but there is also a small outline of a food source that you can find in the woods or in the valley. So a lower card would have something simple, like a blade of grass or some wheat. and a higher card would have something a little bit more rich, like some fish or bugs, or maybe a berry. And so it's clear that the cards are tied to it. And so he looks at his card and he says, "Oh, okay, okay. Well, since it's my game, I guess, and I said that it's more fun with more bets. I'll put down." And he takes out five leaves of silver, and he puts them into the pot. So right now there's 4 gold caps, one from each, and he has 5 silver that he's put in. And you guys can decide if you will hold or stay, or like hold or meet his, or add more. And Jink, you're up first.
Ooh.
You can also roll like perception rolls on him or each other or anything like that. Like Dungeons and Dragons things also apply here.
Yeah.
Also, you can roll deception checks if you want.
Okay. Jake is just playing for fun right now, so he'll put in another 5 silver.
Okay. So you meet his bet. Perfect.
Yeah.
Abendstern.
Can I roll a perception on Howie to see what because he's right above Tufts, to see how he's reacting to Tufts?
Sure. Yeah, you definitely can, because he's your brother. And so because he's your brother, I'm going to give you advantage on this one.
I rolled a 14 plus 3, so that's 15. 19. Math is hard.
19.
So
Howie, how would you
I'll tell
react?
You.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm up pretty high. And I don't know how well I can see as much as I can certainly hear. So what I'm doing is I'm attuned very much to what Tufts is saying and any auditory cues that Tufts or anybody else playing the game is giving.
Okay.
And in particular, I'm very focused on Abendstern and to see if he starts to give signal of frustration or skepticism, at which point, being directly above Tufts as best I can be in my perch, I'm going to try and kind of mess with the Merchant Mouse's game a little bit.
Okay, so you can tell from how the things he was saying and the way he was speaking, he's picked low. And he's trying to excuse it as like he's teaching the game. And the way that he's talking doesn't make it seem like he has confidence in his hand in any capacity.
All right, then how many silver flakes did he throw in? 4?
5. He put in 5.
I'll put in 5.
All right, so you meet his bet.
Yes.
Awesome.
So at this point in the game, there's nothing we might do to like try and augment our score. It's just betting.
It's betting on the number that you have, and the next one is augmenting. Yeah.
Okay. Well then, so at this point, Wensleydale's just gonna match and stay in.
Okay. Now, just as a curiosity, I meant to do this before. So there's 4 gold caps and 20 silver leaves in there. How do your characters feel about? How are they acting about their card currently? Jink, how is Jink acting about his card?
So, Jink is pretty familiar with playing cards, especially with Smallfolk, and their penchant for playing games that involve some kind of monetary value, but he doesn't really put much stock in money, so he's not very stressed out at all about whatever his card may be.
Amazing. Abendstern, how about you?
Abendstern is really the strong silent type, and he doesn't really play games. He doesn't gamble that much. He's not a player. So he has an amazing poker face. No matter what card he has, he just looks like a giant frog. and that's just he has resting
He has
frog face.
he has a croaker face.
Resting frog face.
Resting frog face.
It's a croaker face.
That's
Yeah, it's a
amazing.
croaker face.
Oh no!
Cal, you're worth your weight in caps, my man. Good stuff, buddy.
I hope we have
Jeez.
peak viewers there because that.
I heard embers.
We should
heard
have
embers.
known. We should have known.
In Irish's game, he would get inspiration. So if you're not watching Michaela's
That's true.
game Celtic Knot, this is something he would get inspiration for. But that's not this game. So I'm
Man.
just really
Yeah, it's fine.
Casey Drones is gonna have to do a cover of Croaker Face now.
incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible. And
Croaker,
Wensley, how do you
croaker,
feel
face
about your
card.
Um, so Wensley is also has a great poker face, but it's for a very different reason, which is the power of not understanding the game well enough to give away anything about what you have.
Amazing.
He doesn't look worried about how perilously low his roll is because he doesn't understand why it's bad.
Incredible.
This is
Okay.
exactly that meme.
So moving on, moving towards it, he then reaches for the small pile. And Jink, this is what you know. You know that this is a pile of face cards, and there are 4 different. I'm trying to get my good note back here. There are 4 different suits in this part of the deck. The other one isn't. It's all just numbers, up 1 to 20, and then depending on how many Mousefolk there are, then you add another 20, and then if you're pulling from this deck, that becomes, you just keep adding and adding and adding. It's just it's like Mousefolk math that they can do in their own mind, because they live around hundreds of each other. But this deck, the 4 suits match the seasons. So winter is blue, spring is yellow, summer is green, and fall is orange. And there are 4 face cards that go in an ascending order, as if an ascending amount of danger that these creatures would produce. So the lowest is the hare, which is still a wild creature in the valley, and it's one of the most common wild creatures. So they do pose a danger because they're around all the time. There's the fox, there's the owl, and then finally there's the wolf. So he reaches and he grabs his card, and then he motions for you all to do the same. And so what happens in this part, you roll a d4 and you add 10 to your initial score. So you roll a d4, so say you rolled 4, you'd add 10 to that, right?
So basically the results we could get would be 11 through 14.
11 through 14, yeah, exactly.
Right, okay.
And then that number gets added to our first roll?
That number gets added to your first roll, yeah.
Okay.
So what you'll do is, in a second, there'll be another set of bets, like a final round, and then people can either raise or stay or fold, depending. And then you'll show your first card. So, for example, say if you got like a 10 on your first card, you show the 10, and then you tell me your second number, and then we add it, basically. So he looks at his card, and Howie, you feel like he's middle ground with it. His posture changes a little bit, and he kind of looks at his bag, and he looks at everyone. He says, "Yeah, well, it's the first time, and it's our first night together, so..." And he grabs a cap of gold, and he throws that into the pot again. He's like, why do silver when you can do gold, right? So here you go. And he puts so there's now 5 gold and 20 silver in this small pot. Jink, you are up.
So we're just adding to the pot if we'd like to at this point?
Yeah, you can either, you match his bet. If you know that if you don't match, you're folding, and then you're kind of walking away from the table with
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So you either match or raise if you want to stay in.
Okay. Jink will put in another 3 gold caps.
Okay. He sees you. How do you toss them in, or how do you put them in?
He will just gently stack them because he's always very conscious about the space he's in because he's so big. So it's just very like gentle. That just like sets them in the corner.
Perfect. And so he sees that and he kind of nods and goes for 2 more and matches your stack. He sees what you did and almost in admiration, he puts them there and kind of looks to Abenstern.
Abenstern looks at his cards, looks at the money, looks at his cards, picks
What
up three gold coins or tabs slowly and puts them caps and puts them on the pile.
Perfect. Think of acorn
What
caps if that makes it any easier.
Yeah, there you
So
go.
that's-
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. No problem.
What do my bat ears hear?
For
at this
Abenstern
moment?
or for anyone?
Abenstern and Tufts, I'd say, are where my attention's most honed.
Tuft picked. Tuft's card is on. It isn't the lowest, but it isn't great.
Hmm.
So either he was doing really poorly and is just happier that he's gotten a turnaround, or he's just happy to be playing with people, and so is willing to see that kind of continue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Abenstern, how do you feel about? I mean, you've got your stone cold
Croaker face.
like right, like yeah. Perfect.
This is what I look like all the time.
For the podcast, he's got like a big puffy frown going on. There we go.
Looks like stone cold Steve
now I'm gonna
Frogskin.
I'm gonna do mad. Now I'm gonna do happy.
For the podcast, it's the exact same face. Let's just.
No, you just can't see the nuance.
Mhm.
My man.
Cal, before you go, Shiny, you just typed something really cool. Can you just say what, like you put it in our own chat, but what are you doing right now? What is Long Sparkly Trail up to?
I didn't want to interrupt your guys' actual game, but she just keeps slowly scooting around the outside of everybody's game and every once in a while pokes somebody's card with an ice duck and just goos it up a little bit and kind of makes a noise. It may not be an approving or disapproving noise because she doesn't really know what's going on, but she just goos something. She wants to be involved. She's helping.
I love it. Are you helping anyone in particular, or is this just going on to everyone?
It's just kind of random in circles. She's just going around duck, duck, goose style.
I love it. This makes Tuft uncomfortable, but he's trying to be super friendly. So he's like, oh, well, you generally don't show the, well, okay. And he just kind of accepts that he now has some goo on his face card.
I hope these cards didn't have much sentimental value to him.
They were my grandfathers. They were my grandfathers. But it's okay. They should wash. They should wash fine.
The goo is good. It does all kinds of fun stuff. You'll see. It's fine. It'll be fine.
Okay. And Wensley, what do you put in? How do you feel about it?
So, I want to reiterate to the fellow players and to the DM that I rolled very poorly. Wensleydale has no idea that this is true, and just like pulls his coin pouch off of his belt and sets it down next to the lid where everyone has been putting all of their money. There's a decent clunk when he drops it down. Minus what he put in for the ante, he's got about 30 gold caps.
Okay. And so 1 second. Tuft is gonna roll an insight check on this.
All right.
He rolled badly, so he rolled an 8, and so he's like, oh, well, I had discretionary funds, and well, it would be rude when I'm teaching to, and how you can tell that he is sweating. I don't know how mice sweat, but he's sweating. And he shakily takes his. How much caps are we talking here?
I didn't count it.
Okay, well, okay, I'll count it later, I guess, and puts it down there, and his eyes are darting between like Jink to Abinstern to Jink to Abinstern, like back and forth, trying to. Jink, you're up.
So, remind me exactly what we're doing.
We
in this
are
round.
there's basically, so now you are either you're matching or your bet was raised, so you put down 3 and
Yeah.
it was raised again, so you have the chance to match with 27 gold caps,
Oh.
or you can fold and lose the caps that you've put in already,
Or you can raise.
I guess, and we're just taking all that money that you rolled, and it's going away forever. This is a Chris Perkins no money game from here on in.
I have shiny
Wait, I have to
things.
do
It's okay.
math. Let's see.
Yeah, for sure. I like that Jink might be doing the math. So Abinstern, what are you doing at this point in time?
Well, I have to ask. You didn't count how much money you have in your pouch?
No, what? It's just money.
How am I supposed to raise or match if I don't know how much I'm raising or matching?
You count it then.
I
So-
reach out slowly.
You will find 30 gold caps, 27 silver leaves, and 8 copper tokens.
Well, I am unable to match that, so.
Wait, I thought we
sign
were-
out.
Gotta know.
Oh,
when
you know
to
what?
hold
And
'em.
he jumps in, and like Tough jumps in and be like, "Oh, we can do a side. We can do a side pot if you want. This happens in my family all the time. We could take whatever you have, and then you could win that if you win, and then if the next card was our otter, our Rivertail friend, and he says this with such fervor, wins, then he could also he would say he would win that part of the money back. I don't want to be rude. I don't want you to feel like you can't play. We can always do a side. There's always a side in a mouse house.
So DM, are we trying to match 27 or the number that our good friend just laid out?
You put 3 in already, so you would
Yeah.
be adding 27. But
Okay.
but anyone else is trying to match 30.
Okay. I'll match it.
Okay, awesome. How much do you have, Abinstern?
I have 23 gold, 38 silver, 79 copper.
How would Abinstern because you're a cleric, right? Or are you a
Yes.
paladin? You're
I'm a cleric.
How would a cleric feel about potentially losing every piece that he has on the first round of of a card game?
On the friendly, let's just learn how the game works round.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think that Abendstern really cares about money. Howie is the one that really sort of is the entrepreneur. I just, I'm devout. I worship my star, and I protect my brother. So, but I don't want to just, I feel like I'm
For
bonding
sure.
with my adventure. All right, I stay.
Awesome.
I stay.
Right? So then very dutifully, as if because it was his idea of the side pot, he offers his paws up and you hand him his pouch, and he then takes the 23 and puts it to one side of this small box, and then everything that fits he counts it all out and puts it to the one side, and then there's this side pot of the remaining 7 from every other player.
Right.
So onto the other side with small change here and there. And he says, okay, well, since we've, sometimes in some families you would pull again, or you could have another set of bets. But this seems like a time to show. There's different ways that we can play here, but I think this is it. And so, and he's like, and he's a little embarrassed, but he shows his 2 cards, and he shows a 5, and on the 5 there's just a single poppy seed on it. And beside it he has and then the second one is a 12. So he shows the fox, and it's the fox of spring. So a small card with a yellow fox drawn in the center of it is what he shows. And so that is a total of 17. Jink,
Okay.
what do you have?
So, Jink's first card was a 12,
Okay.
and the second one was also a 12.
Okay,
The
so
total
you
was
also pulled out the fox. Let's say that it was the fox of fall. So it's an orange, I believe is the color that I said. So 24.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yep.
So 24, and you see his little mouse ears kind of flop a bit. He knew that he would be losing, but now it's an assured thing. Abendstern, how about you?
I slowly put down the first card. It is an 11.
Okay.
I slowly put down the second card. It is a 14.
Oh, so you
25.
Yeah, so you pull out a wolf card. And the wolf card, when you see the difference between the fox is a relatively small engraving, and the wolf picture takes up the majority of the card itself. And you have the wolf of winter. So it is a blue wolf.
A dire wolf?
Exactly. Yeah. Jon Snow level shit, right?
Imagine a dark wolf.
This is supposed to be a family stream, DM. It's supposed to be a family stream. Shirt, yeah. That John Wolf, yeah. Anyways, we're gonna move past. So excellent. 25. Jinx, you do the quick math and you realize he's beaten you by 1 on this one. And finally, my good river friend, Wensley.
So naturally, he gets the order wrong and shows the face card first. Also, a wolf. He did draw a wolf.
Yep.
And then his other card is a 6.
Okay.
So he has actually beaten Tuft.
Mm-hmm.
But
So
he
you pulled
has
the wolf
lost
of summer.
otherwise.
Yeah, you have a green wolf, so the wolf of summer. And looking at them side by side, you can tell that there are small differences in the design. Yours curves a little bit more. There's slight leaf ends at it. The winter one is more rigid in its line structures. You think it's meant to represent ice, and the fall one, almost has fur, as if it's falling leaves on it. Nothing super intricate. It's just like a design thing. And Tuft sees that he actually lost the worst, and he says, "Oh, well,
oh bother.
Okay." And he says, "Well, I guess," and he takes the majority of the pot and gives it to Abendstern. So Abendstern, we're gonna have to do that math. So everyone gave you, so there's 23. So 23 times 4 or times 3, because you already had yours.
Right.
Total of 92.
90 total of 92. Yep.
But
so
that would be that's times 4, yeah.
Yeah. So no, times 3, right? So that's 9 and 6. That's 69 gold.
Womp womp womp.
Whip, wink, womp.
So I now have 92 gold.
Nice.
You have
60.
60. Yeah, you have 92 gold. And this was supposed to be a family stream. And
It can't be. I'm here.
You know what? We'll make do. Game 2's happening next week.
Sorry,
We'll work
kids.
on it then. No, it's fine. Douglas
Make
is
good
here.
choices.
He seems to be all right.
Don't be like
And
us.
and then
Past your bedtime anyway.
and then you know what, Irish, you win the remaining. You win the remaining gold, which is 21, because you were able to put in that other part that he was not. So you can now add. You still have 21 gold, and Wensley, you have a big. You know what? When they, yeah, you have a big whopping 0.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Don't worry, Wensley. I'll spot you at dinner.
Okay.
Sparkly long trail's just like, yep, just as I expected. Yep.
You know what? Roll a perception check for me.
Who?
Sparkly Trail.
Oh.
Sparkly Trail. Roll a
18.
perception check. 18. You did think this would happen.
That's awesome.
You thought, like, it was a weird passing thought. You were looking at things and being like, well, it's almost like things that you know are going to happen. Like when someone's told you, well, oh yeah, it's going to be cold tomorrow. You're like, well, yeah, it is going to be, like, it's cold, like, it's going to be a long day tomorrow. And, you know, the pot's going to be split. And it's frog and that's going to happen. But I'm like, I wonder what everyone has, right? And so you didn't even think that other people wouldn't realize this. You just thought that they were playing it. Let's
Yeah,
say,
it just seems obvious.
yeah.
So Long Sparkly Trail saying like, "Oh, I knew this was going to happen," and everyone everyone else is settling their money and handling their, putting their coins back in their pouch, and Wensley picks up his now completely empty, absolutely barren, not even a piece of lint in it, money pouch, and just kind of shakes it and goes, "Did I win?"
No,
Okay.
you didn't.
Okay.
But if we play again, maybe, and then like he fakes a yawn. Maybe tomorrow I can spot you some if you want.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Well, it's a long journey tomorrow, and so I'm gonna go to bed. I'm gonna have a bite to eat, and I'm gonna go to bed. But just I don't know when adventurers wake up. If anyone wakes up and it feels like the time to adventure, just wake me. I'm new. I'm a bit of I sleep in. So thanks. And then he kind of he already set up his like pack, and he really just goes and he really just nuzzles in, and you can see that he's turned away from everyone, and he's trying to pretend that he's sleeping, but he's actually just writing something out. But he's trying to he's kind of removed himself from the situation a little bit, and you can do with that what you will. And when you decide, while you're deciding that, he has no idea of watch, meaning like the ability, like the time where different adventurers kind of stay up for a part to make sure that that camp itself is safe. So he didn't even know it was a thing. So who is going to take the different watches of the evening? Let's say that there's 3.
I'll take the first one. Howie will take the first one.
All right.
I'll take second. Appenstern.
Okay.
I'll take last.
Okay. Perfect.
And Wensleydale is used to being on his own, so he's not used to doing watches either. So he hears the writing that Tuft is doing and just kind of thinks to himself, "Oh, so that's how mice snore." And just like goes off into a corner and curls up and falls asleep.
Awesome.
Yeah, long sparkly trail, just because she's got her shell, she just retreats her head into her little shell a bit. Really worry about the watch. She just
Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just silent. Like no one can tell what you're doing in there. It's like it's
my
just
house.
complete. Yeah, it's completely immobile. I always imagined as a kid, like there was that cartoon section that like the snail just had very small legs, and in the back of it was a television, and a couch, right? Like there was just all of those things. That was
What
my
was that?
I don't know, but that is like deep within my childhood psyche. Right?
Yeah, I
don't
have
know.
that
I
image.
remember that too.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know what it's from.
Huh.
Yeah, I imagine
But-
it being
No, that
very
was
like the I Dream of
claymation.
Jeannie. Oh
Yes.
It was claymation. It was one of the claymation like Christmas or Halloween specials where the snail went in and it had like a whole like little TV or whatever. Like
Huh.
little
It
right? I
We'll
mean,
have
is
to
amazing.
find this and put it in the show notes for the
yeah. We're
podcast.
gonna find it for sure, yeah. But yeah,
I
she
love
just
it.
retreats.
I love it. I love it.
First
Incredible.
watch.
So, first watch. You, from your vantage point, you can see that that Tuft spends longer. People are already asleep by the time he is still writing. He is trying to mask it, but he's not very good at any of this, and he is just writing in a small book, and then eventually he is about to put that book away and close it, and then you can tell that he's actually about to fall asleep. Then I don't know if you want to do anything with that information, Howie. You already have a pretty good eye on him.
I'm not going to do anything at this moment.
Okay.
I'm a bit off my usual side game self because of finding that honey, that
Mhm.
old desiccated honey pot. I am going to see if any of it's reconstituted, but I'm making a mental note. He's got this book, and at one point, one way or another, I'm going to get that book and I'm going to read it cover to cover. But for
I love it.
now, he may rest in he may find his repose without me disrupting him.
How we
I
will
love it.
remember this.
Yes.
Howie. All right, cool. I love it. And so
has any of that honey kind of come back yet, or is it still all just water?
You open it up and it smells sweeter, right?
Hmm.
It definitely smells sweeter than the water that you put in from your water skin, right?
Yeah.
A taste would have to take to be sure, but and tell me, tell me what you want to do with that. Like, do you want to take a taste? Do you want to let it sit? Like, it smells a little sweeter already, but
I'm just gonna let my really long bat tongue just sort of lull out in there and just dip the tip of the tongue in just to see if I can get a taste.
okay. So
You know, if you have really hot soup and you just kind of touch it with your tongue, and kind of like,
yeah.
pulling one of those. That's my game.
I love it. So yeah, it is already it is very sweet. You can probably tell that the flavor profile isn't there entirely because you're not getting the full honey experience. But
it's
just
good,
because
but it's not a transcendentally good.
Exactly. Well, I mean, like, part of the honey experience is, I can't believe, I mean, the mouthfeel of the honey, right? And
I'm with you.
Yeah, exactly. And the percentage of the sugar, right?
Mhm.
You are getting you're getting some of that. Oh my goodness. Okay, just for the podcast in our own chat and for everybody. Avin Stern, so our good friend found what he was talking about, and we're gonna have to link it in tweets because it is
classic.
The classic. It is
I
exactly
found
what I was thinking.
The timestamp too. 6 minutes and 55 seconds inside
Amazing.
the show.
All right, that's incredible. So there we are. We'll have to link that later. But yeah, it's very, very sweet, and you get one sip, and immediately your instinct is to drink the whole thing. You can fight that instinct, but you
I feel like I got bugs crawling all over me.
No.
Kick the whole thing back.
Chug.
No, I can't.
Okay.
That's why I just took the tiniest taste, because I figured this stuff could mess up a bat real quick.
It is very good. It is very, very good. You have one temporary hit point. Yeah.
All right. As my
And-
eyes roll back, I sort of make an.
Wait, are
Okay,
you still
so
hanging from the ceiling?
yes, I am, and I'm going to keep my watch up for the rest of this shift, reinvigorated by this awesome eons old honey water.
a voice beside you says,
What the fuck? Yeah.
says,
Whoa.
how I my that jar hasn't been washed in a while, and standing, you're upside down,
Yeah.
and so it's right side up. But a mouse, an
Okay.
ethereal, a mouse who is clear,
Oh,
near
is he
clear.
my spirit guide? Oh dear. Oh dear.
A mouse who is near clear is standing with you and says, I mean, I get it. I get it. It's good. I mean, I had most of it, but it is. You really just shouldn't put your mouth in things that you find wherever, right? Irish family stream.
You don't know us.
Yeah, that's true. I should have picked my players differently.
That's how you end up with a fan. Never mind.
I'll be
Anyways,
better, Dad.
no, don't worry. No, it's good.
Okay. Okay. I gotta try. I'm gonna pretend like I'm keeping it together, but he's Howie is pretty panicked right now. Gonna say first, thank you so much for leaving this here. It's an honor to meet an artisan such as yourself.
Well, I didn't leave it. I guess I left it. It more was left after I left. And I've stuck around to with it. It's kind of been, yeah, we've been here. But thank you.
Would you come with me if I took it? Would that be all right?
Well, it's the only, and the mouse, she looks around, and you can see that she's looking at the expanse of this place.
Mm-hmm.
And she sees, and she says, "This is what I've known, but I don't. I think it is. I think it's here that I'm. I think it. I think the jar is what I really know, and so if it left, I think I would have to."
Okay. I don't mean any disrespect. I did not know that I was holding someone's home.
Oh, it's okay.
But it would be a pleasure to have some company who's seen so much and been here so much longer than we have. As you must know, we're quite new here. Do you remember anything from before you started waiting with the honey pot?
It's been a while. Time changes, and it's very dark here.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm unsure how long a while it's been, but it's been a while, and I've seen mice of my kind who I don't recognize passing, and they don't seem to stop
Hmm.
like they used to. So they must not know that I was here.
Hmm.
So tell me, is the town below new still?
The town.
Did they finish building it?
Does Howie know what the heck this ghost mouse is talking about?
Yeah, you make a history check.
Okay.
So you know that the town below is the mouse capital city that you were in before.
Mousetropolis?
Mousetropolis, exactly. Hashtag Mousetropolis.
I rolled a 13.
Okay. You think that this mouse is talking about an old legend of the foundation of this city, not at the dawn of the awakening, but when the societies really started to come together and form what people think of as the modern age of the valley.
Okay. I guess how he says, uh, it's new as the stars shine. It's new as the forest grows, but it's it's shed its baby fur, if you know what I mean. Um, what should I call you? My name is Howie. What is yours?
It stops and looks for a while, as if it's trying to remember.
And then I
Says
just
it's,
say, listen, you don't have to tell me now.
no,
Perhaps we could find you a new name in a new place, or at
No,
least an adventure.
I would very much like an adventure, and it's been a while, and I'm thinking. I remember Willow. And so I think Willow would work. Will
Willow,
you?
it is my pleasure.
You're going to the loan, are you?
I would like to see it. I've heard very much about it, and I've heard very many fantastical stories that I'll admit I'm curious. It's something I'd like to see. Have you been there?
Oh yes, it's my home. It was my home.
Mm.
This jar, I guess, is my home now. You'll leave though, will you?
After we have the chance to see it, to visit?
Yes.
Yes, I imagine so. Yes.
Please take me with you. This is as far as I ever got, and I wish to see more.
Absolutely. I wish to show you more too. And the only thing I ask first is that you and I perhaps keep our conversation and your presence here a bit of a secret. For only the reason that I am comfortable with a great many um, denizens of the world, physical, spiritual, immaterial, what have you. But I think, and I point down to Tufts, I think some in our party are a bit tightly wound and inexperienced. And I just don't want this to be something that is a bit too much for them. Do you understand?
That sounds good.
Okay. Only briefly. Only for just now.
How about this? I'll stay in my home. And when you need it, or when you get to somewhere new, you can open it.
Mouse genie!
And I'll be there.
Yes.
Happy
That sounds just
day.
perfect. If
Found a
there's
mouse
anything,
genie.
Willow, if there's anything you ever need from me or from us, if there's ever anything that is endangering us or your home, let me know. I will protect you.
I will do my best. And one request,
Yes.
please take the water out of my home.
Okay, so Howie steadies himself, grabs onto the roof of the chamber, and just chugs the honey pot.
All right, you have
Yum.
10 temporary hit points.
And
that
I can
will
see through time.
and, and you know exactly what umami means. I don't.
You can taste colors
Yeah, exactly.
for the next 5 minutes.
Right.
It's like when Fry drinks the 100th cup of coffee.
Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. And
Woo-hoo.
you know what? We just hit our 2-hour mark, And I think that is going to be where we end our stream for this evening. So next month, first off, we are going, because it's an event-based stream, we are going to talk with our players and see when in March is going to be a time that works for all or most of us to get back at the table, because community is really important to us. And so we want to make sure that the community that we're building can come and play. And then we will let everyone know when we're going to be back together. And we will start on day 2 of our journey. I'm sure we'll go much faster than this so we can get to our good tree. And if you are interested in seeing another adventure here in the valley, we are going to be playing next week with a whole new party in a different adventure that these good people started, but because we were moving situations, I decided we would just start some brand new. And so that adventure is called The Gloaming, which I'm very excited to get back into. It's a bunch of fun.
Super fun.
Mm-hmm.
The glow is cool.
So
Wait.
I would like to thank every single person here. It has been a distinct honor and privilege to DM for you all. Please, 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 if you have any questions for us, write them down in the chat right now, or write it as a question and hashtag Smallfolk or Smallfolk D&D, and we will collect them so that we can post them to our table. We are going to get we're going to get to those on Twitter next week. And thank you so much for coming. So, stay
I got my
kind.
own small folk here.
Ooh,
Yeah.
My
we
cat
both
just showed
got-
up.
What's your cat's name?
This is Banshee. The Lilu is asleep on a cushion over there, but this is Banshee. You can't see, but she doesn't have a tail. She just has a butt. She's built like a wombat for those listening to podcasts.
Amazing. A
It's
wombat.
cute.
A
though.
wombat.
Yeah, every time your cats have come on stream, I'm just over here like, yeah.
It's a small
Yeah,
cat.
Lilu made an appearance earlier, but
Nice.
it was much briefer. Anyway,
So, thank you so much, everyone. Stay kind, stay curious, stay careful out there. And remember that heroes come in all sizes. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time in the Valley.
mwah.